The NBA playoffs are finally here. It is the best time of the year. The 2025 regular season was fantastic, and we had so many close playoff races leading up to this moment, and I'm so excited to be giving you guys my 2025 playoff predictions because we got some juggernauts. We know that with the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Cleveland Cavaliers, and the Boston Celtics, but we do have so many good teams right there after them that can pull off some type of run. And like always, you can let me know what you agree with or disagree with throughout this video down below. They've also been a top 10 defense as well. Donovan Mitchell can have a bad shooting night, and Darius Garland can go for 20 plus, or even Ty Jerome can go for 20 plus off the bench. I love their midseason acquisition of DeAndre Hunter at the trade deadline. He's fit in perfectly like a glove for them as that swingman defender, but can also be an elite three-point shooter for this team as well, as he shot 42% from three since being acquired by the Cavs at the deadline. I don't think this is really going to be much of a competitive series, so yeah, I got the Cavs in 4. In the 2-7 matchup between the Boston Celtics and the Orlando Magic defeated the Atlanta Hawks in the first leg of the play-in tournament, and they made the playoffs as a 7 seed. They were the first division winner in NBA history to win the division and not have an above 500 record, but we know this year they were dealt with injuries, as the Boston Celtics were one of the best teams in the NBA. They ended up going 61-21, finishing second in the Eastern Conference. They finished 24-13 against teams above 500, while the Orlando Magic were 12-25. The only person that's really dealing with an injury right now for the Boston Celtics is Jaylen Brown, but it does look like he's going to be a full go for the start of these playoffs. As for the Orlando Magic, we know they're without Jalen Suggs and Mo Wagner, two key pieces to this Magic offense and defense, but they're going to be healthy outside of those guys. But since the All-Star break, the Boston Celtics are the second best team in terms of net rating, while the Orlando Magic are a more competitive team than they were in the first half now that Paolo Banchero is looking like what he did pre-injury. Same with Franz Wagner. Cole Anthony has given them some good scoring minutes over the last few weeks as they end up finishing the 13th best team and above 500 record since the All-Star break. But I just think that the Boston Celtics offense is going to be too much for still a very competitive Orlando Magic defense, especially if Jaylen Brown is out there healthy. Having Kristaps Porzingis can provide such a mismatch to get Goga Bitadze or Wendell Carter Jr. out on the perimeter. Jason Tatum is the best player in this series, and it's really hard to pick against the Boston Celtics in this series. I do think Orlando wins a competitive, gritty game where both teams can score under 100 points, but that's going to be their only win in the series. I got the Celtics in 5. Next up, we have the Detroit Pistons versus the New York Knicks. The Detroit Pistons haven't won a playoff game in 20 years. We know that the New York Knicks have lost in round 2 in each of the last 2 years. They made massive shakeups to their roster in the 2024 offseason, where they ended up trading for Mikal Bridges and Karl Anthony Towns later in the offseason. They've had their ups and downs this year, while the Pistons and the Knicks matched up 4 times. The Pistons beat them 3 to the 4 times, and the Knicks are pretty much going to be at full strength. We know they're going to rely a ton on their top 7 with their main starting 5 and Deuce McBride and Mitchell Robinson fully off the bench. And the Pistons have been much better since the All-Star break than the Knicks. They're 15-12 with a 4.9 net rating, while the Knicks have been pretty much league average, 15-13 with a 0.3 net rating. The Knicks are going to rely a ton on Jalen Brunson, especially in the clutch parts of these games, and Jalen Brunson is going to need to put the team on his back. I want to see OG Anunoby match up against Cade Cunningham, and even if it's Mikal Bridges, he needs to prove to everybody why he went for 6 first-round picks last offseason. Detroit made the playoffs, and I think they're one of the best storylines this year. The team rallying around Cade Cunningham, Asar Thompson lifting up this team defensively, and Malik Beasley having a career turnaround after Milwaukee didn't want him last offseason. They've been such a fun storyline all year. I do believe they're going to win a playoff game in this series, but I do have the Knicks winning in 6 games and advancing to round 2 for the 3rd straight year. I think the Knicks at full strength are going to get it done. I don't think it's going to look pretty, but I just think that having Brunson and Cat for a 7-game series will be able to provide them enough offensively, and we finally get to see the 2-man game in the front court with Mitchell Robinson and Karl Anthony Towns. I do think they're going to provide a mismatch against the Detroit Pistons, who don't have the most offensively talented big man in the world, nor defensive talented big man at the times. A lot of their defense can come on the perimeter. Like I said, though, it's been a great season for the Detroit Pistons. It's really tough to take them, though, in round number 1 against a Knicks team that is going to have a little bit more star power on display, but I just know that the Pistons fans are going to make the Knicks' lives very hard when those games go to Detroit after game 1 and game 2. So the Knicks definitely need to win both to start off the series in the Garden, because if they go down 2-0 or it's 1-1 going back to Detroit, it's going to get a little dicey, but I'm going to take the Knicks in 6 to go up against the Boston Celtics in round number 2. Now, this is my toughest series to predict here in the Eastern Conference. The 4-seeded Indiana Pacers versus the 5-seeded Milwaukee Bucks. Last year, the Indiana Pacers knocked out the Milwaukee Bucks in the 2024 playoffs, but Giannis Antetokounmpo didn't play in that series. Damian Lillard was banged up, and it's a similar story this year as well, where Damian Lillard is going to miss the start of this series because of the blood clot he suffered a couple weeks ago, so the Milwaukee Bucks may not be at full strength yet again for another playoff playoff series against the Pacers, and it's going to be tough for them too because the Pacers have been a really good team since the All-Star break. They're 20-9 in their last 29 games. They have a top 10 net rating in the NBA. The Milwaukee Bucks aren't too far behind them, and it's because of Giannis Antetokounmpo. I go back and forth with this series because I think we could see a 2018 LeBron James type run from Giannis Antetokounmpo, who feels like he could put up 32 points, 12 rebounds, and 5 assists any given night and still be an elite rim protector out there. They have some great shooters around Giannis. Kevin Porter Jr. has been a good pickup for them at the deadline, as well as Gary Trent Jr. and AJ Green as shooters surrounding Giannis. But I do believe that the Indiana Pacers are a better team. But Haliburton has been playing like an all-NBA guard since December. Pascal Siakam is a very consistent scorer at the power forward position. Andrew Nembhard is one of the best perimeter defenders in the league. He can get downhill, finish at the rim. The Pacers are a deeper team as well. I do think they end up winning this series and beat them for the second straight year, and they advance in 6 games to go up against the Cavs in round number 2. Now onto the Western Conference, where we do have the 1-seeded Oklahoma City Thunder going up against the 8-seeded Memphis Grizzlies. And like the 1-seeded matchup in the Eastern Conference, I do have the Oklahoma City Thunder sweeping this series, advancing to round number 2. They swept the 8-seeded Pelicans last year. I believe they're going to do the same this year. They've been the best defensive team all year long and one of the best defensive teams of all time. They're also a top 3 offensive team in the league. They have by far the best net rating since the trade deadline. I'm really excited to see how Jalen Williams can get his shots going in round number 1. See if he can get into that rhythm in round number 2 when the defensive matchups get a little bit more intense in round 2 and round 3. How is Chet and Hardenstein going to look in the playoff series? Who could step up offensively outside of Shea and J-Dub? Either way, I do think the Thunder are going to win in a more convincing sweep than maybe we're going to see in the Eastern Conference. But I think every other series in round number 1 is going to be super competitive, and it could go either way. We got blessed with an elite round 1 matchup between the Houston Rockets and the Golden State Warriors. Throughout the regular season, the Golden State Warriors and the Rockets played 5 times. The Warriors won 3 of them. Their most recent game came on April 6th, though, the only game with Jimmy Butler on the Golden State Warriors, and the Rockets ended up winning by 10 in that game. But since the Jimmy acquisition, the Warriors have been arguably a top 3 team in the NBA. Over their last 27 games, they're 20-7 with a 9.1 net rating, which is 3rd in the NBA. Draymond Green is making his DPOY case, and we're getting versions of Steph Curry as a top 5 offensive option in the NBA. It feels like at any point he can go on a run, turn the game around, and he can knock down a few threes in a row, and this offense can operate at an elite level, but also could be anchored by an elite defensive playmaker like Draymond Green. There's going to be a ton of different X factors in this series. Is Quentin Post going to be able to space the floor and be a consistent shooter for Golden State? Will Brandon Podziemski be consistent enough? Can Jimmy Butler get to the free throw line like he did against Memphis in that first leg of the play-in tournament? And can Steph be Steph and carry this team to an upset? Because they're not playing an easy team in round 1 whatsoever. They're playing the Houston Rockets, who have been a top 10 team since the All-Star break in terms of net rating. They have one of the best defensive playmakers like Golden State with Draymond Green. They have their version in Amen Thompson. Jalen Green and Alperen Sengun have been a good enough offensive duo this year to get a 2 seed in a loaded Western Conference. You had in Tari Eason as a defensive playmaker. You had in guys that have played in big games before like Dylan Brooks and Fred VanVleet. And this Rockets team is not going to go down easy in this series whatsoever. But I'm going to ride the Golden State Warriors in 7 games. I think this is going to be one of the more entertaining round 1 series, and they're going to pull off the 7-2 upset. I do think Golden State is playing their best basketball, and they've looked just slightly better than Houston. I think this was a fantastic year for Houston. I think they maybe drew not the most favorable round 1 matchup in the world, and I do wonder who's going to be the guy that could take over for them in the fourth quarter, who they can rely on to hit clutch shots, and can they have that experience that Golden State has? And I think they're going to be fine in 2026 and onwards, and they're going to be one of the best teams in the Western Conference over the next 5 years, and I'm going to take the Warriors to advance to round number 2. I actually do think all these series in the Western Conference outside of the 1-8 matchup are impossible to predict, because the 3-seeded LA Lakers versus the 6-seeded Timberwolves, I've been switching my opinion on this series every single second, because the Lakers have been such a high-powered offense since they acquired Luka Doncic at the deadline, but they're a team that has good defensive metrics, but I just don't know if I could trust them in a 7-game playoff series. I also worry about their depth as well. Are we going to see much Jared Vanderbilt, Dalton Knecht, Gabe Vincent, any of those guys in meaningful minutes in the playoffs, or are they going to have to rely so much on the top 3 of a 40-year-old LeBron James, Austin Reeves, and Luka Doncic? And that's fine, because Austin Reeves has been playing like an all-NBA player since the All-Star break. Luka is Luka. LeBron is LeBron. They could score 140 points if these guys are out there consistently, but they're going up against a Minnesota Timberwolves team that I just love. I've said they've been a contender all year long, and I do think they have a deep enough roster and an elite enough defense where they can make a run in the playoffs. Anthony Edwards is shooting the ball like Steph Curry this year, and if he could be that downhill attacker and really take over a playoff series, Minnesota can go back to the Western Conference Finals like they did last last year. Jaden McDaniels and Nickeil Alexander-Walker can be such a good enough defensive duo to make Reeves and Luka feel a little bit uncomfortable. You have Rudy Gobert anchoring the defense, and he's not been the playoff performer he's been in the past. He's been very consistent over the last few years. You have Naz Reid. We'll see how a motivated Julius Randle looks in this playoff series as well. And to maybe a surprise, I'm going to go with the Minnesota Timberwolves in 7 games and upset the LA Lakers, a 6 seed beating a 3 seed. They just got that 6 seed later in the year. You can make an argument they could have the best player in this series. I would still take Luka or LeBron overall over Anthony Edwards, but I would not be shocked whatsoever if Anthony Edwards was the best player in this series. I just think it comes down to, can Julius Randle step up as an offensive option? Can Naz Reid step up? I think it can go either way. I'm going to go with the upset and pick Minnesota to advance to round number 2 to take on the 7-seeded Warriors. Yeah, I have the 2 seed and 3 seed going down in round number 1. And lastly, another series that I've had so many issues picking, the LA Clippers and the Denver Nuggets. The LA Clippers are everybody's dark horse to make it to the NBA Finals this year or to make a run, because Kawhi Leonard has looked like that old version of himself, somebody that could take over the game with his mid-range shooting, that can be an elite defender, that can get to the free throw line and just be an above average player from all facets of the offense in the half court. They've been the 4th best team in terms of net rating since the All-Star break. James Harden has turned the clocks back a little bit, and he looks like an all-NBA caliber guard this year. And they have a major breakout star in the 2025 season, Ivica Zubac, who may end up on an all-defensive and an all-NBA team. He is the middle linebacker of this defense. He can control the team in the half court and basically block any shot or provide a challenge to anybody attacking him at the rim. Bogdan Bogdanovic has been a great shooter since they acquired him at the deadline, and in really good defenders around those guys like Derrick Jones Jr. and Chris Dunn. And another breakout player this year offensively, Norman Powell. This team has a good enough offense and defense, and the Denver Nuggets have been a good team all year. They may have the MVP in Nikola Jokic, who put up a triple-double in 2025. Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., Christian Brown, Peyton Watson, all these guys have great numbers and have given them good moments this year, as well as Russell Westbrook. This is going to be arguably the best matchup here in the playoffs. I am going to go with the hot hand though, the LA Clippers, who have been a lot better than Denver since the All-Star break. Denver fired their coach. The vibes could be off a little bit, and I'm going to take the team that is playing some very good basketball as of late. I'm going to have the LA Clippers beat the Denver Nuggets, advance to round number 2 in 6 games, and take on the OKC Thunder. All right, so let's go back to the Eastern Conference for the round 2 matchups. We'll start off with the 1-seeded Cavs versus the 4-seeded Pacers, and I think this could be an upset waiting to happen, and the Pacers could make it back to the conference finals like they did last year. I think they have a high-powered enough offense. I think they also have some good defensive playmakers where they can provide a little bit of a challenge for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And the Pacers beat the Cavs 3 times this year, and I think Tyrese Halliburton can keep them in every single game, and you're never going to get a bad shooting night from Pascal Siakam. But the Cavs have been the best offense all year long. They've been one of the best defenses. They may get the Defensive Player of the Year winner in Evan Mobley. Even if Mitchell or Garland or Mobley, one of those guys has a bad shooting night, they could still win a game by 20 points. And I do think they are a better team than the Cavs, both on paper and on the floor. And I do have the Cavs making it to the Eastern Conference Finals and beating the Pacers in 6 games. But like I said, I think the Pacers have the best chance at upsetting either Boston or Cleveland and making it to the NBA Finals, more so than Detroit, New York, or Milwaukee. So next up, we have the Boston Celtics versus the New York Knicks. Yeah, we know all year long the Knicks could not beat any of the good teams in the NBA. Their record this year against teams 500 and above, 15-23. And I just don't trust this team in the 4th quarter whatsoever. I think they can make it close in every single one of their losses against the Celtics. I just don't think Tibbs is going to get creative enough with this offense. They're just going to try to result to Jalen Brunson ball screen and try to make him do something out of nothing. I don't think they're going to get good enough defense out of Karl Anthony Towns. And if the Boston Celtics are healthy with Kristaps Porzingis, it provides just a mismatch nightmare for the New York Knicks, where Karl Anthony Towns now has to go out on the perimeter. I can't trust Mikal Bridges defensively from what we saw in the regular season. And the Knicks did not beat the Celtics at all in the regular season. So why do I think they're going to beat them in the playoffs? I can't think that way. I'm going to take the Celtics to win in 5 games and make it back to the Eastern Conference Finals. Now here in the Western Conference, we have the 1-seeded Oklahoma City Thunder versus the 5-seeded LA Clippers. The Thunder being the best defensive team in the NBA. And I do wonder if they won the finals this year, can we say they are one of the best teams of all time? They may get multiple guys on an all-NBA team. They may get the MVP in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And they have just one of the deeper rosters in the NBA. And I just think they're just too good offensively and defensively, and the Thunder will have the best player in this series in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I do think it's going to be very competitive, but I do have the Thunder winning in 6 and making it to the Western Conference Finals. And then here we go, we have the 6-seeded Minnesota Timberwolves versus the 7-seeded Golden State Warriors. I think this is going to be an electric matchup, but I'm going to take the Minnesota Timberwolves to win this series in 7 games, and we're going to get Thunder versus Minnesota in the Western Conference Finals. Something we could have gotten last year if Shea beat Luka in round number 2, but we are going to get, I think, a start of an amazing rivalry in the Western Conference. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander versus Anthony Edwards. This is going to be one of the best conference finals we may see in quite some time, but I am going to take the Thunder to make it to the NBA Finals. They're going to beat Minnesota in 6 games. I just think they've been the best team all year long in the West, and I don't think it matters who makes it to the Western Conference Finals. I'm still going to take the Thunder over that team. And then here in the Eastern Conference, we have the Boston Celtics versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. Maybe of a shocker here. I do have the Boston Celtics winning in 5 games. Yeah, I do think we're on a collision course between the OKC Thunder and the Boston Celtics in the 2025 NBA Finals. I believe if the Celtics are at full strength, they're not going to be beaten by any team in the Eastern Conference. Now, if Jaylen Brown is playing hurt, if Kristaps Porzingis is hurt, yeah, I may off the Boston Celtics a little bit, but if they're fully healthy, which they are right now, I don't think any team can beat them in the Eastern Conference. Everybody can be an elite shooter on this team. I just think Boston is also going to come up in the clutch, and Cleveland may have some issues with Jared Allen guarding Kristaps Porzingis. So yeah, I have my NBA Finals between the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Boston Celtics. They played 2 times in the 2025 season. Both times the Oklahoma City Thunder won those games. It was a lot closer on March 12th, where the Thunder won 118-112. But in that game, the Boston Celtics didn't have Kristaps Porzingis, and we haven't had a repeat champion since the 2017-2018 Golden State Warriors. But I'm going to pick the Boston Celtics to beat the Oklahoma City Thunder in 7 games of the 2025 NBA Finals. I do believe these are the 2 best teams in the NBA. They've been the 2 best teams in the NBA pretty much over the last 50 games as well. And since the All-Star break, the Oklahoma City Thunder are 1 in net rating. The Boston Celtics are number 2. And I think this would be also so much more of a competitive finals matchup than we got last year between the Dallas Mavericks and the Boston Celtics. And I hope this could be a 7-game series. I hope this can be one of the more entertaining series since the 2022 Celtics Warriors, or 2021 Suns and Bucks, or maybe even the 2016 Cavs and Warriors. It could be that good. And I have the Boston Celtics winning back-to-back NBA championships in 7 games over the Oklahoma City Thunder. So yeah, hope you guys did enjoy my 2025 NBA playoff predictions. I really do hope this is just a generational playoffs with an entertainment aspect, storyline aspect, and we're going to get some really good games out of it, and maybe just a little bit more of a competitive NBA Finals, because 2024 didn't really live up to the hype between Boston and Dallas. And if you guys did enjoy it, appreciate you dropping a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button for NBA content all playoffs long and off-season long, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.